The Kobali warships erupted in mocking laughter, the high-pitched shrieks echoing across the comms as their sensors took in the battered hull of humanity's ancient warship, until the Dreadnought's mighty engines roared to life and Admiral Shaw's finger hovered over the weapons control system. Listen up, cadets, because today you're going to learn about the most important moment in human history, Admiral Harry Shaw said, his grey eyes still sharp despite his age, as he looked over the fresh-faced Kobali military recruits. The year was 2387. Us humans had just started spreading out from Earth a few decades before, colonizing some nearby planets. But the Kobali, they already had an empire spanning a big chunk of the galaxy, hundreds of worlds, and they didn't take too kindly to us primitive humans barging in on their turf. Shaw leaned forward, his voice low. Their Emperor Quasar, he was a real piece of work, wanted to put us in our place before we could become a threat. So he sent a fleet, 50 of their most advanced warships, each one over 1 kilometer long, and packed with enough firepower to glass a planet. They jumped into the Sol system and made a beeline straight for Earth. The cadets listened with rapt attention as Shaw continued. The ships we sent to intercept them, they were like toys next to those Kobali monstrosities, all sleek lines and shiny hulls. But there was one ship, the TDS Relentless. She was different. 5 kilometers of battle-scarred steel, built over a century ago during the wars between the human factions. The Relentless was the last of her kind, a relic from another age. Shaw's eyes took on a distant look. Emperor Quasar, the arrogant bastard, he broadcast a message as his fleet closed in. Demanded we surrender immediately or be wiped out. We all knew we were outmatched. The fate of every man, woman and child on Earth rested on the next few minutes, and as the captain of the Relentless, it was all on me to make the call. Shaw smirked as he recounted the moment of triumph. Emperor Quasar, in all his arrogance, ordered his ships to focus fire on the Relentless. I guess an ancient rust bucket like her offended his delicate sensibilities. The Kobali ships swooped in, plasma torpedoes and laser beams raining down on us, probably expecting the Relentless to crumble like a tin can. But our girl, she was made of sterner stuff. The Admiral's eyes gleamed with pride as he continued. You see, the Relentless hull was forged from an experimental alloy, a secret that died with the last of her original crew. Those Kobali weapons slammed into us, but the damage was minimal. You should have seen the look on Quasar's face when he realized his superior fleet couldn't even scratch us. Shaw leaned forward, his voice low and intense. I knew we had a small window of opportunity, so I gave the order, divert all power to the main gun. Now, the Relentless spinal railgun was a thing of beauty. 100-ton slug, accelerated to a fraction of the speed of light, the kind of weapon that could crack a planet in half. As Shaw spoke, the cadets could almost feel the ancient ship thrumming with power. The railgun started charging up, drawing juice from our fusion reactors. The whole ship began to glow like a damn sun, energy crackling along her hull. The Kobali, finally realizing the danger, started hammering us with everything they had, but it was too late for them. Shaw's voice dropped to a whisper. The Relentless shook like a beast waking from slumber as the railgun fired. The roar of it, I swear it tore the very fabric of space itself. That tungsten slug, moving at nearly 1/10 of light speed, it crossed the distance to the Kobali flagship in the blink of an eye. The Admiral's gaze turned distant, as if reliving the moment. The slug punched through their shields like they weren't even there, tore through the hull like it was made of paper. And when it detonated inside the ship, the explosion, it was like a small supernova. The flagship just disappeared in a blaze of light, vaporized instantly. Shaw shook his head. The rest of the Kobali fleet, they were thrown into complete chaos, their flagship, their emperor, gone in an instant. But they still outnumbered us, 50-1. So they regrouped and came at us again, determined to avenge their leader and wipe us out. But me and my crew, we were just getting started. The remaining 49 Kobali ships bore down on us, a storm of plasma and lasers pummeling the Relentless hull. Sparks flew across the bridge as consoles overloaded, the ship groaning under the onslaught. I gripped the armrests of my chair, feeling the vibrations of each impact through the deck plating. "Damage report," I barked. "Shields at 30%, Captain," my tactical officer responded, his face illuminated by the flickering light of his display. "Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12. Repair crews en route." I grimaced. The Relentless was tough, but even she couldn't withstand this kind of punishment for long, and with the railgun's capacitors drained, we were sitting ducks. But I had one last card to play. "Launch the vanguards," I ordered. "All of them." My crew looked at me in surprise, but they knew better than to question my orders. Within moments, 100 tiny blips appeared on the tactical display, swarming out from the Relentless like angry hornets. The Vanguard fighters were a desperate measure, a last resort. Piloted by the bravest men and women in the fleet, these tiny ships were little more than engines with a cockpit and a payload of nuclear-tipped torpedoes. They were fast, agile, and utterly expendable. I watched on the view screen as the vanguards darted between the hulking Kobali ships, drawing their fire away from the Relentless. The alien vessels, their attention divided, began to turn and swat at the fighters like a bear beset by bees. But these bees had a sting. One by one, the vanguards began to wink out of existence, plunging into the shields and hulls of the Kobali ships with their nuclear payloads. Brilliant flashes of light erupted against the void as the torpedoes detonated, the fighters sacrificing themselves in a desperate bid to buy us time. The Kobali, unused to such suicidal tactics, were thrown into chaos. Their formation broke as they tried to track the agile human ships, their fire becoming erratic and uncoordinated. But even as the vanguards died, more kept coming, an unending swarm of self-sacrificial fury. On the bridge of the Relentless, the mood was grim. Every one of those blips winking out represented a life given in defense of Earth. My crew worked frantically to repair the damage, rerouting power and patching hull breaches, knowing that every second bought with human blood was precious. I watched the minutes tick by, each one an eternity. The Relentless shuddered and groaned, the cacophony of battle raging outside her hull. On the tactical display, the number of vanguards dwindled, each loss a knife in my heart. But slowly, painfully, the railgun capacitors crept towards full charge. I clenched my jaw, my knuckles white on the armrests. Those brave pilots had given their lives to buy us this chance. I would not let their sacrifice be in vain. Finally, after what felt like an age, the railgun status light blinked green. "Railgun at full charge, Captain," my weapons officer reported, his voice taut. I nodded, my eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Kobali ships were clustered together now, trying to regroup and re-establish their formation. "Perfect." "Target the center of their formation," I ordered, "and fire." The Relentless shuddered as the railgun unleashed its deadly payload once more. On the view screen, I watched the tungsten slug, a tiny mote of light, streak towards the Kobali ships at a fraction of the speed of light. It struck the lead ship dead center, punching through its shields like they were paper. The slug tore through the vessel's hull, emerging from the other side in a spray of molten metal and ignited atmosphere, before slamming into the ship behind it. And the one behind that. 3 Kobali ships were torn apart in an instant, the railgun slug stitching a line of destruction through their formation. The remaining vessels reeled, their captains struggling to comprehend the devastating power of this ancient human weapon. I allowed myself a small, grim smile. The Kobali had come here expecting to face a primitive, defenseless species. Instead, they found themselves facing a dreadnought from humanity's bloody past, crewed by men and women with nothing left to lose. The odds were still against us. Even with 3 more ships destroyed, the Kobali still outnumbered us more than 10 to 1, and we had just expended our last, best weapon. But as I looked around at my bridge crew, at the faces lit by the glow of their consoles, I saw no fear, no despair, only determination, only the will to fight to the last. We would not go quietly into the night. If this was to be humanity's last stand, then we would make it one for the ages. The Relentless, battle-scarred and weary, would live up to her name. The Kobali fleet, rallying from the shock of the railgun strike, began to advance once more. Laser batteries charged, plasma torpedoes loaded into firing tubes. On the tactical display, I saw the swarm of remaining vanguards still darting amongst the alien ships like maddened wasps, throwing themselves against the enemy with reckless abandon. I straightened in my chair, my voice calm and clear over the bridge speakers. "All hands, this is the captain. We have hurt the enemy, but the battle is far from over. The Kobali still outnumber us, and they will not underestimate us again." I paused, letting my words sink in. "But we will not falter. We will not yield. We are the last line of defense between the Kobali and our homeworld, and we will hold that line, no matter the cost." I looked around at my crew, seeing the resolve in their eyes. "Man your stations, trust in your shipmates, and let us show these alien bastards what it means to face the might of humanity." A cheer went up from the crew, a defiant roar that echoed through the ship. On the view screen, the Kobali ships loomed large, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. I smiled a cold smile. "Give them hell." Shaw's voice dropped to a whisper as he leaned in close to the cadets, the tension in the room palpable. Just when we thought all hope was lost, a miracle happened. The TDS Indomitable, the Relentless's sister ship, burst out of FTL right on the edge of the battlefield. They'd picked up our distress call and pushed their engines to the limit to get to us in time. The Admiral's eyes shone with pride as he recounted the moment. The Indomitable emerged from the light, railgun charged and ready to fire. The Kobali were caught off guard, suddenly finding themselves trapped between two human dreadnoughts and a swarm of fighters. Shaw chuckled darkly. Emperor Quasar panicked. He ordered all his ships to focus fire on the Indomitable, hoping to take her out before she could bring that railgun to bear. But in doing so, he left his flank wide open to the Relentless and our fighters. The Admiral's hands clenched into fists as he relived the moment. I saw the opportunity and I took it, ordered the Relentless to full speed ahead, engines burning hot as we surged towards the Kobali fleet. Our fighters, brave to the last, formed up around us, taking the hits meant for our ship. Shaw's voice grew louder, more intense. We closed in, railgun firing again and again. Every shot found its mark, Kobali ships vanishing in blinding flashes of destruction. The Indomitable, her railgun now ready, joined the fray. Together, we began to tear the Kobali fleet apart, piece by piece. The Admiral leaned back in his chair, a grim smile on his face. Quasar finally realized he'd lost. He gave the order to retreat. But it was too late for them. We had them now. Their formation was in tatters, their numbers dwindling with every passing second. We chased them down, picking off the stragglers one by one as they tried to flee. Shaw's voice grew quiet, almost contemplative. In the end, only a handful of Kobali ships managed to escape, limping back to their empire in disgrace and defeat. It was a victory for humanity, but the cost... The Admiral trailed off, his gaze distant. The cadets waited with bated breath, hanging on his every word. Shaw's voice grew heavy as he recounted the aftermath of the battle, the weight of memory hanging on every word. The fleet limped back to Earth, the Relentless and the Indomitable at its head. But the cost... He paused, his eyes distant. Over half of our vanguard fighters were lost, brave men and women who gave their lives to protect the dreadnoughts, to protect Earth. The Admiral's gaze swept over the cadets, his expression somber. The Relentless herself was badly damaged, her hull scarred and pitted by Kobali weapons fire. She'd taken a beating, but she'd given as good as she got. He leaned forward, his voice low. When we approached Earth, the reception was subdued. Oh, the people were grateful, no doubt about that. They knew we'd bought them time. But they also knew it was just that. Time. The Kobali Empire wasn't going to let this defeat stand. They'd come for us again, and soon. Shaw sighed, running a hand over his face. The Relentless and the Indomitable, they were hailed as saviors, but I knew the truth. They were relics, the last of their kind. The technology that built them, it was lost long ago, and without it, we stood little chance against the Kobali's advanced weapons. He shook his head. In the years that followed, we poured everything we had into reverse engineering those Dreadnought systems. We hoped to unlock the secrets of their construction, to even the odds. But progress was slow, and all the while, the Kobali threat loomed larger on the horizon. Shaw's voice dropped to a whisper, his eyes haunted by the ghosts of the past. That battle for Earth, it was just the beginning, the start of a long and bitter war that would rage across the stars for generations. We fought tooth and nail for every inch of space, every planet, every outpost. He fixed the cadets with a steely gaze. The relentless and the indomitable, they became symbols of our resilience, our determination, but they were also a reminder of the steep price of survival in a hostile galaxy. As he finished his tale, Shaw leaned back in his chair, his eyes boring into each cadet in turn. "Remember this story," he said, his voice barely audible. "Remember the sacrifices that were made, the lives that were lost, and never, ever underestimate the courage and determination of the human spirit. For in the end, that may be all that stands between us and oblivion." The room fell silent, the weight of Shaw's words hanging in the air. The cadets sat motionless, their expressions a mix of awe, sorrow, and grim determination. They knew, as Shaw did, that the battle he had recounted was but one chapter in a much larger story, a story that was still being written with humanity's fate hanging in the balance. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.